Breaking right now, the British royal family mired in one of its biggest crises in history.
Well, I'm not sure what I'm able to bring. It's what all these very brave ladies tell me.
Please subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it truly means so much to me. In a shocking move, Princess Anne has reportedly blocked Queen Camilla from taking part in Prince William's coronation planning meetings. Behind palace doors, tension has boiled over. What should have been a smooth transition of power has turned into a quiet power shift at the very top. Insiders say Anne drew a firm line, and she didn't hesitate. Camilla was removed from early coronation discussions, not by accident, not by oversight, deliberately excluded. Key meetings had already been underway, invitations sent, strategy mapped out, yet Camilla's name was missing from every major briefing. William's inner circle reportedly kept decisions tight, answering directly to him and Anne. Camilla didn't receive formal notice. Sources claim she learned after staff noticed her absence from a planning memo. That's when it became clear this wasn't a mistake, it was a message. Publicly, she remained silent. No statements, no visible reaction. But inside palace walls, the shift was unmistakable. A boundary had been set, and Camilla was outside it. Some insiders say Anne acted out of loyalty to William, shielding his future reign from complications. Others believe it reflects deeper concerns about influence and long-term stability. Either way, the atmosphere inside the palace changed fast. Questions have followed ever since. Had Anne grown wary of Camilla's expanding role behind the scenes? Princess Anne has long been viewed as the monarchy's steady force. Disciplined, direct, focused strictly on duty. She avoids spectacle and rarely steps into drama. When she moves, it's intentional. Observers note that while other senior royals publicly embraced Camilla over the years, Anne maintained a formal distance. Always polite, always correct, but never overly warm. Sources say her stance was rooted in principle, not rivalry. Anne reportedly believes influence should come through long service and clear structure. In her view, titles carry responsibility, and responsibility demands restraint. After King Charles ascended the throne, Camilla appeared more confident and more visible in ceremonial settings. To some insiders, Anne viewed that shift cautiously, concerned about preserving clear lines of authority. Tensions reportedly surfaced during certain state events, where Anne is said to have stepped in to guide ceremonial exchanges. Not dramatically, not publicly, just firmly. Whatever the motive, one thing is certain: a quiet recalibration took place. And in royal circles, quiet moves often carry the loudest consequences. Please subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it truly means so much to me. To Anne, it wasn't rivalry. It was correction. Privately, she is believed to have spoken with Prince William, warning that blurred lines between symbolic presence and real authority could create instability. Her concern wasn't personal, it was structural. She feared confusion at the top could weaken the institution itself. According to royal insiders, those conversations marked a quiet turning point. Many now suspect those early warnings influenced Camilla's reduced role in coronation planning. Not revenge, not punishment, protection. Anne allegedly viewed Camilla's growing visibility as a possible complication during a sensitive transition of power. With William preparing for the future under intense public scrutiny, Anne chose to act. Quietly, strategically, without spectacle. But tension didn't stop there. Sources close to the Prince of Wales suggest a private meeting between William and Camilla weeks ago shifted the dynamic even further. During that confidential exchange, William reportedly set clear boundaries about future roles and influence. Insiders claim the response wasn't warm agreement, it was icy resistance. So was there an unspoken divide forming inside the royal family? Observers say the friction between William and Camilla didn't explode overnight. It grew in subtle pauses, in polite smiles that didn't quite reach the eyes, in conversations that felt unfinished. No shouting, no public confrontation, just quiet distance expanding. One careful step at a time. Everything finally exploded during a private meeting at Clarence house. A meeting meant to clear the air, but instead exposed just how deep the divide had grown. Prince William had always played his role perfectly, calm, respectful, controlled. But behind closed doors, pressure had been building fast. He had been watching as Camilla stepped further into ceremonial spaces, speaking with more authority, and placing herself at the center of moments he believed belonged to the future, not the past. What started as quiet discomfort turned into something bigger. For William, this wasn't about emotions anymore. It was about structure, order, the crown itself. When he requested that meeting, he didn't show up as a stepson. He showed up as the Prince of Wales, a future king preparing to lead. His goal was simple: a respectful conversation about boundaries, a calm request for space to shape his own reign. But insiders say it quickly became a clash of wills. William reportedly spoke clearly and courteously. With coronation planning underway, he explained he needed room to define what his monarchy would look like. He made it known that while Camilla's role had once made sense, her growing presence now felt intrusive. He asked her to step back from key planning meetings, especially those tied to symbolic decisions that would define his legacy. No accusations, no raised voice, just firm restraint. Camilla, however, didn't take it as intended. Sources claim she smiled, but it wasn't warm. With a tone blending amusement and dismissal, she reportedly replied, "It's all symbolic tradition, darling, nothing more." That line landed hard. To William, it wasn't light conversation. It felt like dismissal of the responsibility he was carrying. Like the moment hadn't shifted. Like she didn't see that the spotlight was no longer hers to stand in. That's when the restraint cracked. Insiders say William responded sharply with words that still echo behind palace walls. "This is not your crown to shape." No shouting followed, just silence, heavy, uncomfortable, final. William stood up and walked out. No debate, no second round. His mind was made up. The very next day, he met privately with Princess Anne. The timing was no coincidence. After that meeting, the issue was no longer personal. It was institutional. Authority, optics, long-term legacy. Anne reportedly agreed without hesitation. Together, they decided Camilla would be excluded from further coronation planning, but they didn't announce it. They executed it. Meeting agendas quietly shifted, guest lists adjusted, emails rerouted, planning sessions continued, without her name attached. No drama, just strategy. The palace, ruled by silent signals, adapted quickly. It wasn't rebellion, it was realignment. William drew the boundary, Anne reinforced it. Camilla, however, was not ready to be sidelined. When she discovered the change, insiders say her reaction was fierce. She reportedly shouted, "I am queen," inside Clarence's house. Beneath that anger was something deeper. Fear of losing influence. Fear of fading out. She didn't learn through official notice. It surfaced through a simple staff calendar update about a planning meeting at Kensington Palace. Her name wasn't listed. At first, her team assumed it was an error, but calls went unanswered. Messages met silence. The truth became clear. She wasn't forgotten. She was cut out. Advisors urged calm and discretion, but the sting ran deep, and sources claim she stormed into a private sitting room where King Charles was reviewing papers. Doors closed, voices rose, nothing officially confirmed. But those inside Clarence's house say the tension was impossible to ignore. And just like that, the quiet royal divide became something much harder to hide. "They cannot treat me like a guest," Camilla is said to have cried. King Charles stood there, torn between husband and monarch. He didn't argue, he didn't step in, he didn't defend her either. And that silence, it said everything. In that moment, Camilla reportedly realized something she hadn't expected. His loyalty leaned toward his son. For years, she had carefully rebuilt her image inside the monarchy, step by step, appearance by appearance, patient strategy, careful charm. But now the very institution that once shielded her had shifted position, and she was no longer standing at the center of it. Retreat was never her style. Behind closed doors, she reportedly activated her team. The mood shifted from quiet damage control to open strategy. Ideas were floated. Exclusive interviews, carefully timed appearances, subtle reminders of her presence. The goal wasn't to expose division, it was to regain ground. But even as those plans circulated, one fact remained unavoidable. Prince William's coronation planning was moving ahead without her. Decisions were being locked in, alliances tightening. The narrative that once included her was quietly being rewritten. In royal circles, visibility equals influence. And for the first time since becoming queen beside Charles, Camilla was watching her spotlight dim. Then came the sharper twist. While Camilla fought to stay visible, another figure stepped forward. Calmly, naturally, without resistance. Catherine, Princess of Wales, didn't demand space. She didn't compete. She simply filled it. By William's side, she projected steadiness and clarity. Where Camilla appeared to push for position, Catherine moved with ease. No urgency, no force, just presence. Palace insiders later shared that Catherine's role in early coronation discussions wasn't ceremonial or symbolic. It was central. From the start, she helped shape not just logistics, but tone and meaning. She wasn't interested in repeating tradition for tradition's sake. She wanted the moment to connect, especially with younger generations watching closely. It was Catherine who suggested giving young people a visible role in the procession, symbolizing the future in a literal way. It was Catherine who encouraged honoring Queen Elizabeth II in a manner that respected history while pointing forward. Legacy blended with renewal, and her style, quiet, steady, unshaken. Advisors reportedly found her approach thoughtful and intentional. She didn't dominate conversations, she refined them. Where tension once lingered, her presence brought calm. Unlike rank-based authority, Catherine's influence wasn't announced. It didn't need to be. It was felt. One insider described the dynamic simply, William brings resolve, Catherine brings balance. Together they move as partners, not hierarchy, but unity. There were no dramatic headlines declaring Catherine's rise, no staged reveal, just a steady expansion of trust inside the palace and beyond. The institution didn't have to label her importance. The public already sensed it. After years of turbulence, many found reassurance in her composure. She appeared grounded yet polished, dutiful without being rigid, elegant without pushing forward. And the numbers quietly reflected that connection. Observers noted something deeper. People weren't responding to titles alone. They were responding to authenticity. And in that authenticity, Catherine was becoming a symbol of trust in a way that felt organic, not engineered. What made it even more striking? She never positioned herself as replacing anyone. She didn't need to. Her role evolved naturally, shaped by partnership with William and alignment with the monarchy's future. As the balance of influence shifted inside palace walls, it became clear this wasn't loud or dramatic power. It was quiet consolidation. And in royal history, that kind of power often lasts the longest. She didn't compete with Camilla. She didn't need to. Catherine simply embodied where the monarchy was heading, and in some ways where it once stood. As influence shifted behind palace gates, one truth became obvious to anyone watching closely. The future queen wasn't waiting for a crown. She was already carrying herself like one. But just as William and Catherine's vision began settling into place, a private meeting at Windsor threatened to shake everything. King Charles quietly summoned Princess Anne. No aides, no press. Just a closed room and heavy tension. Sources later described the conversation as restrained, personal, and charged with emotion. Charles was under pressure. Camilla felt humiliated by her exclusion from coronation planning, and he wanted Anne to reverse the decision. To him, it wasn't just about meetings. It was about unity, about repairing cracks before they widened. To Camilla, the exclusion felt like public rejection. To Charles, it felt like a fracture inside a family he had spent years trying to steady. But Anne didn't arrive to smooth feelings. She arrived to defend structure. Charles reportedly spoke not as king, but as husband. He talked about loyalty, about redemption, about the long road Camilla had walked to earn her place. "She is my wife," he is said to have told Anne, his voice heavy. It wasn't an order, it was a plea. Anne never raised her voice. She didn't argue loudly. She simply responded with calm certainty. According to insiders, her answer was clear. "He is our future." That line ended the debate. For Anne, this was never personal. It was institutional. The crown doesn't bend to comfort. It protects continuity. Charles sat in silence afterward, reportedly realizing something far more painful than disagreement. His influence had limits. Time had shifted the balance. The authority he once exercised without question now required alignment from others. Camilla had long been his refuge during difficult years. But now, instead of strengthening the family's unity, her position had become the point of tension dividing it. The room reportedly fell into thick silence. No shouting, no dramatic collapse, just the quiet recognition that this was not a battle Charles could win. Anne stood steady, described by one insider as a guard at the gate. No apology in her expression, no hesitation in her stance. When the conversation reached its end, she simply nodded and walked out. No effort to soften the blow, no staged reconciliation. There would be no joint appearance to ease speculation, no coordinated smiles for cameras. The illusion of seamless harmony inside palace walls had quietly cracked. What followed wasn't chaos splashed across headlines. It was something more subtle, a controlled storm unfolding through silent decisions and calculated restraint. Agendas remained unchanged. Plans continued without adjustment. The line had been drawn, and it stayed drawn. William had already made his position clear, and reinforced it. And Charles, despite wearing the crown, was left confronting a hard truth about royal power. It isn't permanent. It's sustained by trust, defended by alignment, and shaped by those who guard its future. In that moment, the balance inside the monarchy shifted, not with noise, but with quiet finality. As tensions hit their peak, palace aides moved fast. A statement was drafted with surgical precision, every word polished, every phrase measured. But what it didn't say spoke louder than anything printed on the page. When the palace finally released its announcement, it effectively said nothing. Calm tone, brief wording, carefully vague. It painted a picture of smooth coordination and ongoing cooperation in support of the Prince of Wales. No conflict, no friction, no cracks, and most noticeably, no mention of Queen Camilla. That omission became the headline. Royal commentators immediately zoomed in on the language. The repeated emphasis on support for Prince William stood out. In royal messaging, silence can hit harder than a declaration, and Camilla's absence from the text was impossible to ignore. To many observers, it looked like confirmation. She hadn't just stepped back, she had been quietly pushed aside, and the palace had no intention of explaining why. Behind the scenes, though, calm was just a performance. Internal memos reportedly flew through corridors with urgent instructions. Stay on message. Avoid speculation. Do not engage. Staff were allegedly told to deny knowledge of specific planning meetings. Even more striking, they were instructed to avoid using Camilla's name in coronation-related discussions. This wasn't routine media handling. It was containment. The goal was clear. Control the narrative, limit damage, preserve unity. But unity only works when fractures stay hidden. This time, the crack showed. Sources close to Camilla's circle say she felt blindsided yet again, not just excluded, erased. One insider described the atmosphere around her as thick with quiet anger. Some encouraged her to speak publicly. Others urged patience and composure, hoping time would restore balance. But in a monarchy where perception equals power, invisibility cuts deep. It's not just sidelining, it feels like exile. Questions quickly followed. Did King Charles personally approve every line of that statement? Or was this a sign that Prince William was asserting stronger authority behind the scenes? Had Princess Anne's influence grown so firm that even official palace language now reflected her stance? Then came an even more explosive twist. A private letter written by Princess Anne reportedly surfaced, a letter never meant for public eyes. It had been addressed to King Charles weeks before Camilla's exclusion from planning became known. Even the act of writing it was unusual. Anne is known for direct conversations, not emotional correspondence. But insiders claim this letter carried weight and warning. Written in her disciplined tone, it reportedly expressed deep concern about the monarchy's direction. Anne spoke about tradition not as decoration, but as protection. She warned that without discipline and boundaries, the institution risked becoming what she allegedly described as a pageant of contradiction. No names were used, but the meaning was clear. She cautioned against personal relationships overshadowing national responsibility. She emphasized that public trust fades when appearances start to outweigh purpose. In that same letter, she reportedly described Prince William as a pillar of continuity, blended with vision, strong words that signaled not just support, but confidence in his judgment. According to sources, she urged Charles to consider stepping back from certain influences for the long-term survival of the crown. Letting go, she suggested, might be painful, but necessary. Whether every detail of that letter is accurate or not, one thing is certain: the monarchy's internal balance is shifting. Carefully crafted statements can mask tension for only so long. Eventually, silence becomes its own message. Now the bigger question hangs in the air. Was this a strategic realignment for stability, or the beginning of a deeper fracture within the royal house? What do you think about Princess Anne's actions toward Camilla? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're following every twist in this royal power shift, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what unfolds next.